Hey, welcome back to Cooking with Mandy here on Mandy's Planet. I'm going to be making beef and cheese nachos homemade. Everything's going to be homemade from the chips to the cheese. So let's go ahead and look at what I have here. I have corn tortillas, our flour tortillas, onion, cilantro, ground beef, and my ground beef is 93% lean and 7% fat. We have some whole milk, which is lactose free, some cheese, and some taco seasoning, and some butter to help with when I make the cheese dip. So we have the McCormick's taco seasoning, it's the original flavor, and then I like to use the Fairlife's whole milk, ultra filtered, lactose free. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna begin with prepping, and the first prep I'm gonna do is for the chips. I have corn and flour tortillas, which we've seen previously. So how I like to cut them is I will cut the tortilla in half, and then each half I will cut into 3 chips. Now you can cut them into different sizes if you like. It's just whatever you prefer. I am using the corn and the flour because we like both, but you don't have to do that. You can either use corn or flour. So let's go ahead and check out some of this cutting up. Just move to a different angle so you could see it a little bit better. And see how I stack it there? It's much easier to cut it that way. Now it's time to cut up some of our flour tortillas into chips. It's the same way that I showed you previously with the corn, nothing different here. I will say when I do fry them up, the flour ones are really fluffier compared to like the corn tortillas where they get kind of crunchy. So if that helps you making a decision when choosing what kind of chips you want to use when you make your homemade nachos. Don't they look delicious? Yum! They're going to be even better once they're all fried up. Next, I'm going to cut my onions into chunks in 1, 2, 3. Now that we have our prepping out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get ready to fry our chips. And I always like to put 1 chip in first to see how hot my oil is and to see how long it will take to fry up. So then after I'm kind of figured that out and I can see that the oil is nice and bubbly, I go ahead and toss my other chips in. It's a really good way, and if that chip is not like bubbling around when you drop it in with the oil, then you need to go ahead and remove it because your oil is not hot enough. So I'm just going to fry up these chips. And these chips, they really don't take long to fry at all once your oil is nice and hot. So please keep a close eye on them when you're frying them up, and have a pan or plate ready with a paper towel on it, so you can go ahead and remove them and have them sit on that paper towel to get that excess grease off of them. I wish we had smell-o-vision so you could smell these chips. They smell really yummy and they look really good. You're going to want to fry them until they are nice golden brown. As you can see here, we got all the chips are done, and I kind of separated them to corn and flour, but I will mix them all together. Next step is to saute my onions. So I just have a little bit of a pat of butter in the pan that's already heated, and I'm just going to go ahead and saute these onions up until they're slightly caramelized, because you don't want them to be too done because they will be cooking with the beef. So now I have my onions the way that I like them. I'm going to go ahead and drop in my ground beef to start cooking up with them. And the onions and the beef just have such an amazing flavor together. It's one of my favorite combinations. So you just want to cook up your ground beef so it's nice and brown, and then once it's browned completely, you're going to want to start adding in your taco seasoning. Okay, my ground beef is pretty well browned up, so I'm going to start adding in my taco seasoning. There's still a little pink in there, but that's okay because it's still going to cook a little bit longer once I put the seasoning in. And I'm just eyeballing this measurement, but it's probably about 2 tablespoons. And then I'm just going to go ahead and mix it up with the beef. Now that it's cooked some with the seasoning, I'm going to go ahead and add some water. And then I'm going to add a little bit more seasoning because I really like the meat well seasoned. But how much seasoning you use is completely up to you. So I did about another tablespoon and a half of seasoning, and I'm gonna let this cook up until the meat is completely brown and the seasoning has covered over all the meat. It smells so good at this point. So our ground beef is ready. It's nicely seasoned and browned up. So my next step here is making our cheese sauce. So I have a stick of butter in there that I'm melting down. And then I'll be adding my milk, my lactose-free milk. And I didn't measure this out, I just kind of eyeballed it. But I probably used about a cup of milk. So a cup of milk and a stick of butter. And I'm just going to be using sharp cheddar cheese to add into this mixture. So now that the butter is completely melted down and I have everything whisked together well, I'm going to start adding in my shredded cheese. And I just did a few handfuls of shredded cheese. And the amount of cheese that you put in is just based upon the amount of cheese that you want to have for your nachos. I actually made extra so that I could have some to drizzle on the top and then some, you know, once I'm eating to dip the chips in. So when adding your cheese in to your milk and butter mixture, you want to make sure that you're constantly whisking with the heat. You do not want it to get clumped up at all, so just keep whisking, whisking, whisking. And it's going to make a perfect cheese dip. I can't wait for y'all to see this. Are y'all ready to see this? Wow, look how yellow, yummy, cheesy that is. And let me tell you, it surely is delicious. And you can just eat it like this as well. But what I'm gonna do is add in some Rotel. And I wish I would have drained my rotel, but I didn't. So that is a tip that you should probably go ahead and drain your rotel, because what I end up having to do is add a little bit more cheese so that it would thicken back up, because the sauce got a little too thin for how I like it. So you're gonna see me adding some more cheese in here soon. So now I'm adding more cheese in, and I turn the temperature back up some, and I'm going to be whisk, 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 whisk. Isn't that a funny word, whisk? I'm going to whisk in that cheese here in a second. There you go. And I'm going to get it to that nice thick consistency that I want for my cheese. Now that my cheese is at the consistency that I want it to be, it's time to get the nachos assembled. So here are my chips and my beef, and I have my cheese sitting on the stove until I'm ready to bring it over so it stays hot. So I'm just gonna start putting the beef over top of the chips rather. And this is so yummy. Isn't this looking amazing? It just comes together so good. I was starting to think it wasn't all gonna fit, but it does. Wow, look at that. Okay, brought my cheese over. So I'm gonna go ahead and start pouring that cheese over this beef and chips. Oh man, that looks so good. If you guys like tacos and nachos and all that stuff like I do, you're definitely going to want to try this recipe. It is so good. Look how yummy that is. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Nice and hot. And I really thank you guys for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please share this video to your friends so they can see this recipe, and please subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And I thank you for watching. So next step is going to be the cilantro, and this just, you know, brightens up the dish, and I just really love the flavor of cilantro. A lot of people do not, but I do. It's really good. So those nachos are beautiful. Look at the colors. So yummy too, let me tell you. If you don't try this, you're definitely going to be missing out. Yummy. Wow, check it out. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe Mandy's Planet. Bye.